Chapter 2 Future Spiritual Father to Thousands Lies Fatherless. Imagine a tiny baby just born into this world, already carrying a destiny so great, so powerful that thousands of souls would one day call him their spiritual father. But before that greatness comes a heartbreak. The little life of Sabudo moved fast, just like the flowing waters of the river Mahi. From the very first day, this child became the joy and light of his mother's family. Everyone in his grandfather's house adored him. He was the apple of every eye. Now, his real name was Tribhuvan, but his loving family gave him the nickname Sabudo. You see, in those days, newborn babies were given pet names to protect them from the evil eye. And little Sabudo was pampered with so much love, especially by his maternal uncle Fulchan Mama and his aunt Parvati Masi, who had come all the way from Khambat just to be by his mother's side during the birth. Life was sweet and life was full of warmth. But happiness doesn't always stay. When little Sabudo was barely 40 days old, devastating news arrived like a storm. His father, Chhotalal Raichand Shah, was suspected of having caught the deadly plague. Now, just hearing the word plague back in those days was enough to send chills down to anyone's spine. There was no cure, no medicine, no hope. This terrible disease had already swallowed the lives of countless people. The whole family was plunged into darkness and fear. Sabudo's grandfather, Sri Lalchand, sat down with his brother Raichand to figure out what to do. Without wasting a single moment, Raichand bravely volunteered. I will go to Padra and check on Chhotalal myself. His wife, Rukshmani, quickly packed some food for the journey. Raichand first crossed the river Mahi in a small boat. On the other side, he hired a bullock cart that took him straight to the small lane, the Khadki, of Jethabai Amin, where Tribhuvan's paternal family was staying. When he arrived, the place was already packed with worried people. Everyone was anxiously waiting for news about Chhotalal's condition. Raichand went straight to Chhotalal's bedside. What he saw broke his heart. Chhotalal was lying there, weak, unconscious, barely alive. With a heavy heart, Raichand asked a few more questions, gathered what information he could, and returned to Devan, carrying the weight of the terrible truth with him. He told the family just how serious things really were. Now, by tradition, a woman is not allowed to leave the house for 45 days after giving birth. That was the custom of the land. But Sabudo's mother, Samrath Devi, could not bear the thought. Her husband, Chhotalal, was dying, and he had never ever seen his newborn son, not even once. That thought was unbearable. Every single day of delay could mean it would be too late. So her father made a bold decision. Send Samrath Devi back to her in-laws immediately. There was no time to wait. But the journey was not going to be easy. The summer month of Vaishak had dried up the river Mahi almost completely, but the night before their journey, it had rained heavily. The river was now swollen and overflowing. The dirt roads were muddy and broken, completely unfit for a bullock cart. So here they were, a new mother, a 40-day-old baby, and a long, hard road ahead. To make the journey a little easier for tiny Sabudo, his aunt Rukshmani came up with a clever idea. She went to a vegetable vendor and borrowed a large cane basket. She filled it with soft hay, covered it with a thick quilt, and gently placed little Sabudo inside. Then they needed someone strong to carry the basket. A well-built, sturdy man named Bhola, who worked at Sri Lalchand's shop, was chosen for the job. Friends, do you remember the story of baby Krishna? How he was carried across the flooded Yamuna river in a basket. Just like that, little Sabudo, this future spiritual giant, was placed in a basket and carried across the overflowing Mahisagar river. Samrath Devi, her aunt, and Bhola, set off for Padra with heavy hearts. They crossed the Mahi in a rowboat, but on the other side, there was no cart available. So, what did they do? They walked 36 kilometers on foot through muddy roads under the open sky. Samrath Devi walked every step of that long, exhausted journey, a mother driven by love, desperate to reach her husband in time. And little Sabudo? He slept, peacefully, completely unaware of this struggle around him. By the time they reached the outskirts of Padra, the sun had already set. With every step closer to Chhotalal's home, Samrath Devi's heart beat faster. Her mind was spinning, her hopes were thin. And then, as they arrived at the house, they were met with the sound of wailing. Loud, heartbreaking mourning cries of women filled the air. Chhotalal's grandmother, Ratanba, and aunt Shakri were weeping profusely. And then the devastating truth hit Samrath Devi like a thunderbolt. While little Sabudo had slept peacefully through the night, his father Chhotalal had quietly slipped away from this world. That very morning, the in-laws had no idea Samrath Devi was on her way, and so the funeral had already been performed. That very afternoon, she was too late. In the midst of all the grief and wailing, Bola gently set down the basket carrying Sabudo. And then something extraordinary happened, as if the little baby somehow understood that his father was gone. Sabudo began to cry. He cried along with the mourners. The entire house was filled with grief. Just think about this moment. This tiny child, just 40 days old, was destined to become a spiritual father to thousands. He would one day guide countless souls on the path of truth and liberation. But on this very day, he himself became fatherless. Stay with me because this is just the beginning of Sabudo's story, and what lies ahead will leave you speechless. End of chapter 2.